Welcome everyone to State of the Trenches episode number 1. This is the first episode of our new weekly format, which are deep dives into the crypto markets, narratives, and what's really moving the trenches. It's a format that I'm personally looking forward to because in all of our other formats, we are coming from a more data-driven approach. We are looking at all of the decentralized networks that we are securing and put a business lens on it and analyze, okay, how are these systems running sustainably? Like, how can we ensure that proof of stake is a sustainable business, so to say, that all of these amazing teams that are building in the industry are here to last, because without any business approach or without any economic reasoning, I think crypto is going to have a super hard time. But in this format, we are going a step back, zoom out a little bit, and talk about what's really moving the trenches right now, which is obviously price talk, but also communities, all of these things that matter to everyone actually, and also has like an influence on the infrastructure side of things, because obviously user behavior, investing behavior also kind of impacts how infrastructure is being moved and how the business of crypto infrastructure is working. So without hesitating any longer, let's have a look at the markets. Before I forget, these are the big topics of today. So after we had a look at the markets, we are going to talk a little bit about this entire October matter that we had in the beginning of this month. Is the bull market over, so to say? Or will there be an up November after the Downtober? Then we are obviously talking about the Solana ETF, the near debt hype, and generally the entire debts that are popping up left and right. And then we are going to talk about industry pivots, including the one of Blockworks, and having a look at the entire M&A activity in this space. And then Devconnect in Buenos Aires is around the corner, so we are also going to talk about that. Again, without hesitating any longer, let us have a look at the trenches, which is CoinMarketCap. I prefer CoinMarketCap actually compared to CoinGecko, and what we see here is that on the 7-day trend, nothing much happened. So towards the end of the month, today is October 31st. Happy Halloween, by the way. Nothing much happened in the last week of October. We see like some price movements to the down here, but all in all, I think we can pretty much say that October, if you really want to call it like this, has been a disappointment. The fear and greed index, I'm not the biggest believer of this index, but it shows relatively well that, yeah, we are not there where a lot of people expected us to be at the end of the month. Like it's like kind of the sentiment, like after the October, the fear and greed index should be like more on the greener side of things, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think like this October matter is like something that's very interesting, because we have seen it in 2021, we've seen it in 2020, but ever since it never repeated itself like properly. So I think it also felt a little bit enforced this year. Anyhow, if we look at Bitcoin, and this is something that we need to have a look at because it's a big daddy, so to say. October 1st, we were at 114K. Then we went all the way up to a new all-time high. Everyone was thinking, okay, October is going up and then it's going on. But no, this hasn't been the case. Bitcoin is back at 110K. So all in all, we have just seen like a quick pump in the beginning of the month, then downwards trend. Also, obviously, due to the broader market sentiment and traditional finance, but that's a whole different matter. I don't want to dive too deep into this because I'm not the biggest expert on that. But as you can see, we're like, yeah, almost there where we started at the beginning of the month with 110K. So I think if you're a Bitcoin holder, October or Downtober, whatever this wasn't like, yeah, a big shakeout for you this month. on the monthly scale, we're down 5%, but yeah, Bitcoin can easily do 5% in a day. And then all of this is irrelevant. But altcoins suffered more. BNB was probably the most interesting asset in the market this month. We have seen in the beginning of the month, similar to Bitcoin, like a huge run up and then some consolidation. So also here, same thing. It's a little bit up compared to the month, but obviously BNB, Bitcoin, two different types of assets. We are up 6% in comparison to the entire month. But also here, we can also go down 6% in a day, easy. And all in all, not much happened for crypto terms. All of the others, very similar, hyper liquid at the past, like solid past 7 days. But yeah, actually nothing much moved. And I think this is also the reason why the fear and greed index is more on the fear side, because October just disappointed. Now we are going closer to the Christmas time, and people are, I believe, a little bit nervous about that, because that's a time where a lot of people take the chips off the table. Now, let us have a look at maybe like a different statistic that's also very helpful and maybe shows the sentiment a little bit more precisely, is the ETF inflow, because obviously this is how professional traders see the space. We're talking about inflows and outflows and not what a certain altcoin does in a day. And I think this is an amazing perspective here, because it pretty much confirms what we have seen on CoinMarketCap on a high level. We saw that the Bitcoin inflow still took place. Also Ethereum between September and October, and then October pretty much repeated September, but there wasn't much going on, to be honest. And I think especially Ethereum people are a little bit disappointed after seeing the inflow of 663 million so far. I think the expectations were just much higher. I think not much change. We went a little bit down, but that's everything. But yeah, speaking of inflows, I think this is something that could make us slightly more optimistic, which is obviously the Solana news. So this happened actually yesterday. The news went out yesterday. I think the official news went out like 2 days or something before. But Solana takes over Wall Street. That's more or less the TLDR of everything. Huge breakthrough for Solana. And by the way, big congratulations for everyone who held SOL throughout the bear market of 2022, 2023. There was so much pessimism about Solana. I remember these days, and I visited the folks in the office in Berlin, Berlin Super Team, and the energy there was just the right one. And Solana celebrated probably the most impressive comebacks that the industry has ever seen. Also remember that I recorded an episode back then about that Solana is not that, and that this is probably a huge opportunity. And back then people hated us for publishing this video that we would kind of try to pump the SOL price. Solana was dead. Everyone thought that, or like a lot of people at least. But Solana is now on Wall Street. That's so impressive. And Solana did also well on the first day. We're seeing it here. Record-setting $56 million in first day trading volume. Not bad at all, I would say. Product launched with $220 million in asset under management. And the amazing thing here is also that it's not just like an ETF where you just buy the asset and that's it. Also, staking will be implemented. By the way, I think I didn't say it, but Bitwise is the issuer of this ETF, if I'm not mistaken. So that's amazing, and the ticker is GSOL. And that's also like, this leads us basically to the next topic, because I think, again, Solana had a super hard time in 2022, 2023, and now it's back stronger than ever before. We see meaningful partnerships left and right. For example, here the Western Union partnership. They want to establish stable coin payments. This is like a clear sign that Solana is mastering adoption. Solana is talking to a lot of institutional grade, not institutional grade, but yeah, to a lot of financial institutions, and they're onboarding them, they're partnering with them. So from that perspective, there's already a lot of institutional adoption going on. Then we also see that there's the Solana phone. Like, I mean, I know it's like a small piece of the puzzle, but combine that with pump.fun, we clearly see that people actually use Solana. So there is a user adoption, and Solana is really melting faces when it comes to ecosystem adoption, ecosystem growth, with the Solana super teams left and right. So there's like thriving activity going on in that ecosystem, and this is the reason why I believe that there is a certain hunger for SOL as an asset also in the institutional area, similar to Bitcoin, similar to Ethereum. But if we look around, I think these are like the three bosses. Yes, there's also BNB, but I think BNB, I know different entities between Binance and BNB. BNB's chain, but I think it's undeniable that there's like a certain connection here. But with that said, they're like these three big guys in this industry, which is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. They have like proper adoption. They have thriving communities, thriving builder communities, and revenue generation in form of fees. So there's really business going on in these ecosystems, like proper business. And I think in these scenarios, an ETF or the so-called DATs, like these public vehicles where a public company is acquiring crypto assets. So it's easier for investors to get exposure to that by just buying the company stocks, very similar to how MicroStrategy did with Bitcoin. I think that makes sense for these types of assets because they're already established. They are like a couple of steps further. And this is exactly what brings me to the next point, because I have seen it in the industry quite a lot these days, that every altcoin, so to say, every blockchain is also trying to replicate it. And I mean, who can blame them? But no, we have Sovereign AI, and I just want to read it to you. We are Sovereign AI, a wholly owned subsidiary of OceanPal, created to be a leading public traded investment vehicle for both digital asset and AI infrastructure exposure. We plan to use NEAR's protocol purpose-built technologies to establish private user-owned agentic commerce by funding the build-up of related infrastructure. Funds generated by our holistic treasury management strategy will be used to achieve our goal, building unique blockchain-native AI infrastructure powered by the NEAR protocol. This is so much to digest here, and I saw it also quoted here. Profits from AI inference and training is then used near creating a positive flywheel for the ecosystem. Like, my first impression was like, what the hell does that precisely mean? And I mean, I have been an adopter of NEAR like very early. Like, I entered the NEAR ecosystem relatively early, 2020 or something. And NEAR was in a very good way, don't get me wrong, but this is like one of the examples where I say, does the world really need like a public vehicle to acquire NEAR? I don't think that an ecosystem should focus so much of its brain power, like should use so much brain power on some public vehicles to pump the price of its native cryptocurrency if, like, in the underlying ecosystem, nothing goes on. I think this is like a little bit harsh to say, but I don't see that there's like so much activity on NEAR. It feels super forced to establish such an investment vehicle, because let's be honest, if you look at DeFi Llama, I think NEAR is maybe 200 million in TVL with regards to DeFi activity. Most of its activity is liquid staking, which is basically, yeah, coming straight from the foundation, and that's actually it. Yes, I know they pivoted to AI and stuff, but there's not. I mean, this is like also not in stealth anymore, but I would say that there's like not overly like an overwhelming amount of traction in the NEAR ecosystem that justifies someone to launch such a public investment vehicle. So I'm just saying that I'm very skeptic of all of these layer ones trying to copy paste and trying to be Ethereum and Solana. I think what I just tried to say is I'm very skeptic if your hopes for your altcoin that you're holding that we are going to see an altcoin everything season where all of the altcoins go up because every altcoin has its own DIT or ETF or whatever. I'm super skeptic of that. I also saw news about Berachain looking into that with Greenlane. Berachain is not even a year old. Like, not sure if they really need that at this play and at this stage. Also, Ejective is like operating in the space. I don't know. If you look at the metrics there is like some fee revenue from the chains. And I know all of this revenue matter is a little bit unfair for early stage blockchains, but here we are again. Go to Wall Street, go big, play these flywheel and investment vehicle games when the time has came, and now it feels just like that every layer one tries to become or stay relevant or try to hold up its token price while not even taking care of its own ecosystem. So this is why I'm very, very, very skeptic about that. So yeah, basically, to have like a short conclusion here, super bullish on the Solana news. Congratulations, and very optimistic about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. I can very much imagine that we are continuing to see kind of an upwards movement in the next couple of months, but I'm very skeptic of the rest of the ecosystem or the rest of the industry trying to copy paste that. Another thing that also speaks for that, because I think this entire bull cycle everyone was talking about is like so much different so much different compared to 2021 and 2017, in case you have been around at that time, because there's like another news that kind of shows me that. So completely different hemisphere. I know. It's about the Blockworks, and Blockworks is closing its news department. So Blockworks is like, or used to be like, one of my favorite media outlets for news. So they publish a lot of articles, and they are closing that down, and they argue that they get a lot of demand from for data driven insights, like this type of media or content, so to say. Podcast will remain, but this entire article game, this is over. And I think it's also fair to say that media consumption will be much, much different in days of AI and in days where it's like much easier to create content. I think all of that makes somewhat sense, but they're basically laying off this entire department. And the other thing is that there are like lots of different companies that are that are getting rid of a lot of their stuff. There are like some that I can't name publicly because it wasn't publicly announced. But if you compare all of that to the 2021 meta, where you have seen companies hiring, and expanding, all of these news feel much, much different. We're talking more, hey, we're shifting our focus somewhere elsewhere. So this is how it feels like. So for me, I don't think that this bull cycle is like so much comparable to 2021. And I think this is also something that we need to keep in mind and set our expectations to, because I don't think that there's a lot of ecosystem growth going on except on Solana, Ethereum, Bitcoin. Besides that, not much ecosystem growth is going on. Lots of teams are getting smaller, not bigger. Focuses are being positioned somewhere else. So all of this feels very, very different. Another indicator, also to clear the question, whether we are going to see a positive November following this, fairly negative October. Not negative October, but yeah, again, expectations were different. Is M&A activity. M&A activity is at an all-time high at $10 billion. And I think I can say a couple of things to that, because if you have seen the first episode on Finality, I also was a co-founder of Friends Validator, and we sold the business to the Swike Group. So I was part of an M&A deal already. And I can say, yes, there's so much M&A activity going on. The M&A company that I've talked to, shout out to Areta, is also talking that there's like so much demand right now for M&A deals. A lot of people want to sell, and just generally, we see a lot of consolidation. Also, a lot of infrastructure providers want to exit the business, and we just see like a big consolidation phase. Everything is just coming together. This is the reason why I think let's be very cautious about our expectations for the rest of this cycle. Can again very much imagine that Solana has another 2 or 3 months, ETH as well, maybe Bitcoin, these types of things. But the rest, I'm very, very skeptic of. That's my honest opinion here. I will be on the Odyssey roundtable next week again. Probably Max and Onur and I will talk about that as well. But this is how I currently see everything playing out. And talking about the future, Devconnect is also taking place next month. And yeah, I'm so looking forward to it. Never been to Buenos Aires. If you're in town, hit us up. We are going to organize 2 events, one big dinner and then another 5K run. So reach out to us if you want to join. Announcement is following today, actually. So first, this episode goes live, and shortly after that, we are announcing our 5K run. So really can't wait. I will be in Argentina for 2 weeks or something. And this is like the crypto event that I'm looking forward to. Also, shout out to Staking Summit. Staking Summit is going to take place if you're in town, if you're really into infrastructure and these things. Go and get a ticket for Staking Summit and also for Sovereign Summit. I will be at Sovereign Summit hosted by Cosmos, but also by my friend Sebastian, who is like a very well-known VC from the Cosmos ecosystem. They are hosting together Sovereign Summit by Interop. So super excited for that one as well. And yeah, it's going to be like a lovely week. And maybe after that, we also have like a much better understanding of where the future is heading short to mid term. With that being said, this was the very first episode on Finality with that new format of State of the Trenches. I hope you got an idea where this format is going to take us. Next time, I want to also stream it live. Today, it wasn't possible, unfortunately, but next week, pretty certain that we are going to do that. And yeah, just generally saying, I'm so looking forward to this format developing. And with that being said, I'm Juri Maibaum. I'm the host of this show, and I wish you all a happy Halloween. See you next week.